It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, sponsored by Thompson Sales, Fast Break Sports, and The Pitch. Here's your host, Scott Purrier.
Welcome into another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I am Scott Purrier. As always, big thank you for tuning in, watching the podcast this week. Big thanks to our sponsors, Thompson Sales, Fast Break Sports, and The Pitch Pizza and Pub. We'll talk more about them at the end of the podcast. And we're actually going to visit with Miles Thompson of Thompson Sales in the final segment as well. But spent weeks and weeks and weeks talking stick and ball sports and, football, basketball, baseball, everything like that. It was time for a fun break. I know that there are a lot of Ozarkers who like to take a little trip down I-44 sometimes to downstream or Indigo Sky or Buffalo Run, or even going down to Tulsa to their casinos and help make deposits at those places for the next tower they're going to put up for you to stay in. But so I brought on two of my friends that I know are good at this stuff. They don't build new towers for these places in the most cases. So I've got Dan Evans and Randy Murfin on to talk gambling in the Ozarks. Dan's going to hit a lot of the slots talk. Randy Murfin's a poker professional. And guys, thanks for joining me tonight.
Hey, Scott.
Thank you,
thanks
Scott.
for having us. Hey, Randy.
And the irony of it is you two were actually at Ozark High School together. Dan as an administrator, Randy as a student back in the mid-'80s, which I'm wondering now, what is that, 30, 40 years later? Was there more gambling classes than algebra, or how did this all turn about where both of you now are on here talking about specialty?
I'll go first, Randy, then you can jump in. I'd say probably Randy's junior year in high school. If you would have told either one of us we'd be sitting here doing this together, we both probably would have said you're crazy. We had a very probably typical principal-student relationship, and luckily down the road we both became good friends, and I consider Randy just like a brother to me now. So, Randy, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, in high school, Dan came, and we called him Miami Dan, but from Miami Vice. He wore some white overcoats and tropical shirts underneath. And, it was a typical relationship. But then out of high school, we both loved college sports, and I had a couple of places I could bet online on sports, and Dan would come over in the afternoon and we'd watch football. I don't know, till Dan left my couch at 11 p.m. that night, or if there was a good Tyson fight on in the middle of the night. So, we started hanging that way, and then the casinos opened up, and I guess the rest is history.
So more background on this. Dan was an administrator and a coach, a very successful volleyball coach at, I think, something like 37 schools in the Ozarks now, if we're keeping track. But helping at Rogersville now. What were the other stops in volleyball here of late?
Oh, I was at Clever and Springfield Catholic are the three places I've been a head coach.
Yeah.
Then first started coaching a little volleyball back at helping at Parkview after I retired from Ozark.
And then Randy, of course, you played football at Ozark. You were the most famous teammate of Rusty Medeiros ever. By the way, Rusty made the Springfield Area Sports Hall of Fame class today, but you're on the podcast before Rusty Medeiros was, so congratulations.
Thank you. Big shout out to Rusty. He deserves it.
You bet. But, and of course, your family, Murfin's Markets in the area and down in the Ozark area for years and years. How did you get into the gambling side of things? And then, Dan, you can follow up with your answer on that, too.
Probably my parents. They would go to Vegas a lot my high school years, and that was like my first. I would send some $10 with my mom, and I think the first time she brought me back $160, I realized I could make money without doing anything, and that was probably the first taste of it. And then casinos started opening up. Casino Queen in St. Louis, I would make a bunch of trips up there. You had to pay $16 just to get on the boat back in the day. And played a lot of blackjack and was a casino player. And then the movie Rounders came out in, I believe, 98, maybe. I think so. And that's when poker kind of took over for me.
And that's how you got into poker and just fell in love with it, or what?
Yeah, the movie was great, and then so I kind of fell in love. I had some buddies that had home games around Springfield, and I would play there weekly, and they took my money quite often, so I, learned the hard way. And then the World Series of Poker, Chris Moneymaker, you've probably heard that story, maybe? I don't know. The guy that when online poker first came out, and he turned a $40 satellite into a main event seat and then won the main event for $5 million that year. And so then online poker really took off, and the rest is just chasing that dream.
And Dan, I guess when we go to Downstream or Indigo Sky, those are kind of the two we hit a lot. I see lots of coaches I know, and so it's a competitive thing, isn't it, for you guys?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's an opportunity that you, instead of competing against another team, you're competing against the casino. And I kind of got started in the horse racing side of it, and had 4 or 5 coaching friends and principal friends, and we would go to watch the horse racing. And I liked the numbers part of it, and trying to again beat the odds and find a horse that maybe was better than the other horses in that race. And then gradually started watching people play slot machines a little bit, and started reading, and gradually kind of got into that. And now it's hard to bet on horses in person. You can drive down to Hot Springs. There's a couple places in Tulsa you can do it, but places down in Joplin like Indigo Sky, they took theirs out. And so I've kind of graduated more into the slot and craps side of the gambling.
Isn't there a Churchill Downs story in there somewhere, Dan? I just remembered the trip to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah. Mark Wheeler and I took a trip to Churchill Downs, and Randy was lucky enough to win a seat on that trip, and that's a whole nother story. But so we've gone to Churchill Downs, to the Breeders' Cup. Randy went with us on that, and I've gone to the Kentucky Derby, and just great fun. And I think if you do things right, you at least give yourself a shot at maybe coming out on top.
And we'll talk about some of the other possible betting avenues toward the end here, like horse racing from both of you. And when I'm talking with Dan about slots, Randy, I don't know how much slots you play now, or if you go to Downstream or one of the casinos, is it just poker, or do you kind of mess around in several different rooms down there?
I try to tell myself I'm going to keep it in the poker room, but I sometimes, unfortunately, end up in the pit or at a slot machine. So I'll do it all. I'll try it all.
Chime in if you have something to add to what Dan says. But I really wanted to do this podcast because, like I said, the number of people in the Springfield area and the Ozarks that go down there, a lot of people go for the first time, or they go once every 3 months or 6 months. And there's people like you guys that go more often. We're probably every couple months go down and get our dauber down and try to build the courage to go back. Just kind of advice on the people that don't go as much and don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think probably the number one thing, if you walk into a casino, the odds are you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And you have to be aware of that. And you also have to be aware that, you don't take more money than you can afford to lose. I mean, you don't take your rent money or your mortgage money or your kids' school lunch money. So you have to be smart about it. And that part of it's really no different than a lot of things. I mean, I don't spend as much money at casinos as a lot of people spend on boating down at the lake on weekends and playing golf at real nice golf courses. So I see it as a form of entertainment, but it's entertainment that at least I have a shot at maybe, coming home with more money than I left with. But I think you have to be aware that you're probably going to lose.
So Randy, even at the level that you and Dan are at, do you guys drive down 44 with that mentality, or do you feel like, I know what I'm doing, I have at least a better chance?
Well, I don't, and Randy's probably seen me on nights I've lost and nights I've won. I don't ever get too high or too low. I just try to stay right in the middle. And for me, and I think Randy may be this way too, that the coaching part of me comes out. I've never gone with the intent that I'm going to go lose. I mean, I always go with the intent that I'm going to win. It doesn't always work out that way, but you don't play with scared money.
Randy, what's your attitude when you go?
Poker's more of a, I feel like I can control it more. If you go out to a slot, you hit the button and whatever happens, happens. So poker it slows me down, and I stay a little more grounded, a little more bankroll management. And when I go down, I don't think I don't put in my mind I'm gonna lose. I go down there to win, and I grind poker. And if I happen to have a good night at that, I'll take, if I'm up 500 extra dollars, I'll go out to the pit and maybe try to hit a jackpot on a slot, because you can hit a big one. Dan knows. And that's my game plan. I don't go as much as I used to because I'm older and have grandkids now, but it's still weekly, probably go down.
Well, and so I'll start out with some questions just from that I've thought of and stuff I've read. And for Dan on slots, is there such a thing as a hot or a cold machine?
Yes, I think absolutely. I think if I was just going to go down and to a new casino, the first thing I do is just kind of walk around and see what machines are getting played a lot. If you watch a bank of machines and you walk around for an hour and nobody ever plays them, that's probably a pretty good clue that the people that go there all the time know that those machines have not been paying out very well. So watch and see what's being played.
And then, I always wonder, and of course we come up with all kinds of theories to justify why we won or we lost. But if you're there on a Friday or Saturday night, is it harder to win then than it is if you're there the next morning when there's hardly anybody in the casino?
I don't think it matters. Now, everybody doesn't agree with that, but I've won some money late at night and in the middle of the morning and in the middle of the afternoon. Now, for me, like at Downstream and Indigo Sky, there's probably only 25 or 30 machines in both of those places that I'll even consider playing.
Why is that?
Well, just based on my personal experience and people that play slots. Randy has, I'm sure, friends that play poker, and they talk a lot. People that play slots a lot talk when you see each other, and you kind of let each other know what machines have been going good. And, they are on just a random number generator, but they do get in patterns and at times that they pay better.
Randy, where are you on the hot or cold machine theory?
I've had my success late at night, like on a Friday or Saturday night, after midnight or 1 in the 2 to 3 a.m. range. I've seen, for me personally, seen more big wins, and I've had more big wins on slots at that time frame. Not up usually at 10 or 11 a.m. to hit that round, but but yeah, and I have my machines that I'll play, and that you just kind of have success at some, and you go back and hit those. Or if you have a friend or something that was like, oh, we were tearing up the polar high roller machine, I might go try to find one of those and give it a whirl. So it's kind of like Dan said.
Yeah, and one thing, and Randy and I may have different viewpoint on this. Both of you probably know I'm not a drinker. I mean, I don't. I've never really been a drinker. So I think if people are going to go play slot machines, and probably poker too, they just have to be careful they don't let alcohol interfere with what they're doing. And for me, that's not an issue because like I said, I'm just not a drinker. But you see people that get bolder when they start drinking, and bolder's not always better.
And that's why they sell alcohol at those places, isn't it?
They should give it away for free, like Vegas. But
exactly.
They still charge you down there. I don't know why they do that.
So, Dan, does it matter greatly whether you're playing? I guess denomination, penny slot, dollar slot, $5, $10. Do any of those pay off more and more often the higher denomination or not?
Oh, I mean, I think if you just want to go have fun, there's nothing wrong with betting a nickel a spin or a dime a spin. And if you put $10 in and you cash out 15, I mean, that's great. More power to you. I think if if you want to try to win big, I think you probably have to bet a little bit more. A quick story, 2 summers ago, I was down at Downstream, and there was a couple probably in their mid-70s playing about 5 feet away from me, and they were playing $3.88 a spin, and it was on a machine called a Buffalo machine, and all of a sudden it hit, and they didn't really know how much they won. And I said, folks, do you know how much you just won? And they said, no, we can't. Is that $600? I think. I said, you just won $617,000.
Oh my God.
And within probably 1 minute, Downstream had that area roped off, and there was more people wearing suits than I even knew worked at Downstream.
Is that the biggest slot payoff you've seen?
Yeah, that's the biggest one I've seen.
Yeah. And how does the casino feel about that afterward?
Oh, I mean, I think it's all built in. I mean, they're going to win a certain percent when it's all said and done.
So can you win big on penny slots?
Well, I mean, I think that's a little misconception of what a penny slot is. I mean, Randy knows this. I mean, you can play penny slots, but bet 25, 30, 40 bucks a spin.
I mean, 30 lines at times 20, right?
So, there's lots of machines that might be penny machines, but that's a little misleading.
Yeah, if you're new, don't just stick 100 in and hit max bet, because it may be one spin. So
I've actually won a couple of times when I had no idea what I just bet on the amount, because I didn't change the right thing. And that's that's the thing too, that are there certain machines, and it probably goes back to what you were saying, Dan, about reading the room and seeing who's sitting where, but are there certain types of machines that are just known to pay out more? I mean, like, my wife's a big believer in the big cartoonish looking tall machines, and I'm more of the triple double diamond. I've even graduated from the old 3-spin deal or 3 wheels to like 5 and digital. But
I think, I mean, it's all kind of a personal preference. I think for me personally, the only machines I play are machines called VGT machines. That's the name of the company. It's a red spin machine. And that's the only kind I'd like to play. But I think all that's kind of a personal choice. I mean, I've seen people hit jackpots on pretty much every kind of machine. So I think it's whatever you like. I think it's kind of like poker. Some people might like sitting in a certain seat all the time at a certain table, but people probably win sitting in all the seats.
What are your favorite machines right now, Dan? Your favorites.
Yeah, at Downstream and Indigo, I call it the cowboy machine. It's a silver dollar shootout, and there's a couple new machines that are kind of offshoots of those. Then I play a lot of what I call, they're a 9-line red spinning machine. But for me, any VGT machine is the ones I would play, and that's your Randy, help me here.
Your polar high rollers, your
polar high rollers,
red
money
bags,
bags,
rubies, the rainbow. I like those too. I hit my biggest jackpot on one of those, so of course I like it.
Randy, what are your favorites when you need a break from the poker room?
The one that kills me the most that I still love playing is Antique Boutique. It's a $6 a spin machine, and it just I've had success on it, but it always draws me to it. So that's my favorite one at Downstream. But I do like the 9 lines that Dan plays. The VGTs are great. Any red spin machines are fun, and I like the old school 3 reels. But I've kind of graduated. My daughter's got me playing some of the newer ones because she likes those. So
now, how do you know what a red spin machine? What's the identifier on that?
It usually says VGT on the machine, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah. It'll be like any VGT machine is a red spinning machine, as far as I know.
And what does that mean? Red spinning?
They're only in, on certain patterns at random times, the screen turns red and you get free spins. It might spin twice, and I've seen them spin 35, 40 times.
Yeah.
And that's
and they're only in like Indian.
Yeah, like multiplier, they'll go red and go multiplier, or is that kind of what and then you get free?
I mean, it's similar to that, but the VGT machines are only in Indian casinos. You can't find them in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they're not in Vegas, and Vegas needs them, I think.
Yeah.
Randy, you go to Vegas a lot, probably more than Dan does, I think, don't you? And what is there a difference between playing slots in Vegas versus playing slots in our area?
I'm not a huge slot player, but I definitely like the Indian casinos around here on slots. Vegas seems tough. There are a lot of old school out there, but they're getting the new ones, but they don't have the VGT that turn red. And I think so many people in this area, of the country are so used to those. People go out there their first time, they're like, "Where are the red spin machines?" I'm like, "They're not out here." So I like the machines around here better than Vegas.
So from both of you, start with Dan. What are the keys in slots to not leaving all your money down there?
Oh, I think you need to kind of know when you go in. If I get to a certain level that I need to quit. Now, one thing that I like to do that a lot of people disagree with. I know what few machines I'm going to play, and whatever amount of money I take with me that I'm willing to lose on a given time. I'll probably just stay at one machine and play it. A lot of people, they'll do 2 or 3 spins and it doesn't hit, and they jump up and go to another machine and do 2 or 3 spins. I'm more of, if I like this machine and I've had success on it, I'm going to stay there and try to grind it out and play it until it hits.
I do that too.
Andy, what do you think on that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. If I stick 100 in, I'm not cashing out at 60. I'm going to give hopefully the only time I'll put more money in is if I don't hit any kind of bonus on my first 100. So they might get another 100. But, after 2 or 3 and you haven't hit much, then you just got to know your limits and put a loss limit in before you go down and try to stick to it. It's harder, to do.
It's hard to do.
So is there anything to the theory that some have that, if you just hit, you may need to get up and walk away because it's going to try to get it back from you quickly, or
I think
keep going.
There's a lot of the VGT machines that after you play them enough, that they'll kind of go through cycles where you might give some back before it hits good again. But I mean, I've hit within like a 2-hour period 4 jackpots on the same machine. I don't agree with the idea of once it hits you need to get up and leave, because it may turn right around and hit again.
I mean, if I hit a jackpot, I'm out of there, because I try to just go out and quick hit them. Because if I hit a jackpot out there, then I'm in poker the rest of the night, because poker's competitive, like Dan was saying. And I played sports, and you see a lot of sports people that switch to poker and play poker because it's so competitive. But yeah, I try to stay in the poker end. So if I hit a jackpot,
Randy,
I'm out of there.
In the past, I don't know if you still do this, and you kind of say quick hit. Randy used to do a lot of what we call a drive-by bet. He walks by a table and he'll try to hit them for $50 or $100 and then take his money and go.
Yeah, the drive-by, just one big bet, kind of take the odds out of their favor. Just a 50-50 shot. I mean, it's not that good, but one big bet, hit it, back to poker.
The wham bam, right?
Wham bam, that's right.
Before we get into the poker talk, what's that?
At Churchill Downs one time, Randy and I hit a big exacta at the Breeders' Cup. What we don't always tell people is we had every horse in the race covered. but we still made money, so it worked out.
We made $40 field or something. You covered them all. Before we get into the poker side of it, Randy, probably my favorite thing to follow on social media is your 12 months a year gigging of Chiefs fans, and as a Raiders fan, I mean you have a way with them. I know you're ready to take the blows from them. Yeah, I mean, you don't back down from it. You say what's on your mind. It looks like now your Raiders, I mean, you get Pete Carroll, you bring Geno Smith in, you draft Ashton Jenney, you have Brock Bowers. Are the Raiders better than the Chiefs going forward?
No, but we're still number 4. We're still number 4 in that division. I'm not an idiot, but we're getting better. And I would like to say we could maybe beat some people this year. I like getting Geno. I thought that was great. That was out of nowhere. I think next year's draft is more quarterback heavy, so we can pick one up next year. But I love what they did. Spytek coming in, Tom Brady's guy. I think they had a really good draft. I mean, we won't know, but it was a very un-Raider-like draft. So I was happy.
Hey, Scott, since this show is on gambling, I'll make a wager that Randy's the only guy right now between the three of us that has a Raider tattoo on his ankle.
Is that right? Is it a picture of Al Davis or the actual Raider logo?
Al's on my back. I just have the logo on my ankle.
Lower middle of the back?
Lower middle. The Al stamp.
Okay, I think we'll move quickly on from that subject. So poker seems to be, like, for me, it's one of those places that I just walk on past because I have no idea what I'm doing. I see the tables. I see the video poker games. Coach Hesser's a good friend of mine. That's one of his favorites, video poker, when he's down there. How do you recommend for somebody that just wants to dip their toes in the water with poker? Where do they start? What do they start playing first, Randy?
I would, if you want to play real Texas Hold'em poker, like back in the poker room, I would suggest getting on either your phone or computer and kind of just learn the game that way. It's very intimidating. A lot of people are scared to go back in the poker room. I was my first time in Vegas. I was folded my big blind twice. I mean, it's very intimidating. And so just to kind of learn the game, you know, play it yourself on the computer or whatever, and then just go in. And it's, you know, both casinos at Indigo and Downstream are great. You're not going to run into, I mean, there are a bunch of idiots that play poker, but most of the people are nice and are forgiving, and they want to see new people in there because we usually play, it's the same faces you see all the time. So that's what I would do now.
I imagine, we live in an age where, thanks to YouTube, you can learn anything video wise. And is that a good place to start? Is watch YouTube videos?
Absolutely, yeah. Watch videos, TikTok. I mean, a week you'd be ready to go. I mean, if you have any kind of, if you ever played cards at home and played your home games and just know what the poker ranking hands are, you just go in there and do it. So,
and there's tons of video poker games all around all the casinos there. Are those a better place to start before you go to a table? And when do you know you're ready for a table?
Video poker is usually a 5-card draw game, most of your video poker games. And I think Vegas, isn't that supposed to be the best odds, Dan? The video poker machines that are around the bars, and they've been there forever. And I think I'm the world's worst video poker player. I've never hit a jackpot. I hate video poker. But so it's kind of a different game. It's just because it's a video screen, it's not real cards. You don't have a dealer dealing you real cards, and it's kind of like a slot machine. I feel like video poker.
So are you more in control in an actual poker table than a video poker, just as you feel like you're more control in any of those games versus like anything video? Because like blackjack, are you more in control at a blackjack table than playing a video blackjack game around the perimeter of the table?
I mean, you can always vary your bets on blackjack and stuff like that. And like real poker, if I'm not in the blinds, I can choose to fold my hand. I don't, have to put $1 in. But a video poker, you're having to, bet your $5 or $1 a spin before you look at your cards. And so real poker is just, I don't know, there's more control there because it's supposed to be a skill game. And it is, but there's also some luck involved.
So, same question along with slots. What are the keys to being successful as a newcomer to poker?
Check your emotions at the door. It's a frustrating game. You can play great for hours and have to fold, and you finally get a big hand and somebody plays a not so great hand and hits the river and you lose all your money and you're just so tilted that, then you just stick more money or grab more money and try to go after that person. Just, check your emotions, use good bankroll management, which I need to listen to at times. And, just set limits and enjoy playing the game. It's you're there for a long time. That's another thing. It's not a quick game. I'll go down and play for 8 to 15 hours in a session. And so just because I love playing, but that's what I would suggest.
And I know it's going to be different for everybody because, like, there's people that go and play slots that go with $100 budget or $50 or $500. What's a good number for beginning poker players to go down for a 3 or 4 hour evening trip down and back to one of the places to maybe be able to kill enough time with that money?
Right. You could. Okay. So both Indigo and Downstream have 1-2 poker tables. I mean, your blinds are $1, $2. The max buy-in is 300. The minimum to come into the table is 100. So, depending on your bankroll, you could bring 200 or 300 down, and you may have some bad beats and be out of there in 30 minutes. But you're kind of in control. And I would say I would say 2 full bullets or buy-ins is what I would suggest. A max buy-in is 300. I would have enough for 2 full buy-ins in case you got coolered in a hand and lost an ugly one, and then you had a backup bullet. So, but that's what I would do, beginner.
Coming from a guy who knows nothing about it, I can go down there and play slots and maybe win 1,200, 5,000, 20,000. What's a good night coming back from poker if you're not at the big money tables?
If you're not playing 1-2, a really good night's a couple of $2,500, $3,000's a really good night.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on a run there, and then of course they have 5-10. They have bigger games on the weekend. I played with a guy at Indigo here 2 weeks ago that was just some nights it's kind of like you find a hot slot. He couldn't lose at poker, and he bought in for 300 and ran it to 47 in probably 5 hours. And so, I mean, you can, it's fun, but you can also go on a little losing streak. There's lots of swings.
What makes a good poker player? Because my son's 20, he'll be 21 here soon. And he's got buddies who've been playing for 3 or 4 years that go down there and think they're going to win it all. And there's guys your age, our age, that are down there. Is it experience? Is it just what makes a guy a good poker player?
Control your emotions and experience. Experience is the best. I mean, I'll watch old World Series of Poker videos from 10 years ago, and the game's always changing. And so these young kids with all their technology can stay on top of, new changes and new betting patterns and the best way to maximize your money. And so that's what I would suggest. You guys need to come play. Why don't you guys come play it Downstream?
If I can sit at a beginner toddler table, maybe I would do that. That'd be good. So Dan, when you had Randy in school suspension back in the 80s at Ozark, did you guys work on his poker face? And Randy, what is a good poker face? Explain that, because Lady Gaga apparently thought it was a thing.
Poker face, there's just mannerisms that people do with their hands or chips shuffling. Their face really, I mean, sometimes it gives some things away, but I don't really put too much into it. The longer you play, it just becomes automatic, and you see these certain ticks, the way they put their chips in, the way they riffle their chips or whatever. You might pick up on something, but
like
a good poker face,
tipping off pitches in baseball, same thing, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's all experience, pretty much.
Dan, do you have a slot face when you're losing?
No, I don't think I do.
Randy, do you wear sunglasses like those big dog guys do?
If my buddies are there and we might be drinking that night, I might throw on my shades just for fun. But no, I usually don't. Not in the low limit game.
And is that to hide the eyes? Is that why those guys do it, or what's the deal?
Yeah, they hide their eyes with glasses. The young Europeans, they must be skinnier, because during the World Series in Vegas, you see them with scarves on, and so I'm not going to be toting a scarf when it's 120 out. So, yeah, they wrap themselves up like they're in the Antarctic or something. But no glasses.
Hey, Randy, have you ever stayed in a big hand simply because the way somebody acted, or do you stay in a big hand totally because of the cards you've got and what you think is coming?
Yeah, you can, the way the flop comes out, how much they bet pre-flop, you kind of put them in their range of hands, and depending on how the board runs out, there's nothing better than calling somebody's $90 bet on the river with bottom pair. And so you just kind of know. It's just the longer you play, the more you see the patterns, and just kind of gather all that information. But sometimes you're wrong too, and you stick.
I've got a feeling if you got a pair of aces, you'd start giggling. I don't know that you could play.
I do giggle. Yeah, I do giggle. I get this twitch in my eye.
Randy, what is the biggest event you played in or events?
Well, back when poker started, when online poker was the big thing in the early 2000s, it was so easy to win your main event seat to the $10,000 buy-in. So I've played in that 3 times in a WPT main event once and made day 2 1 time out of all those. So it was very disappointing, but it was fun.
What's the biggest payday you've had walking away from the night?
I hit a bad beat in Tulsa for 66,000. So that was my biggest win. I chopped a tournament, a run good tournament at Downstream, probably 5 or 6 years ago for 25,000. So that's about it.
People come out for that, or how does that work?
Your tournament guys will come from the cage and pay you out. So, I guess they take you to the cage and they'll pay you out at the cage. So it's not like the red shirts coming out and hand paying you at a slot. You actually have to go to the cage and get your money. But yeah, it's fun.
Dan, do the red coats come out and they say, "Oh, you again"? Every time they come out?
I wish it happened that often, but like Randy said, when it happens, it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you a quick story of a guy. I won't use his name, but he's a friend of mine. About 3 weeks ago, he was down at Downstream, and they had an 11 o'clock drawing for $25,000. I saw him about 3 or 4 times during the evening. Every time I saw him, he complained that he was losing, not having a good night. And at 11 o'clock, they drew his name for $25,000. Unfortunately, he was about to the Mount Vernon exit when they called his name, and he had 3 minutes to get back and couldn't quite make it.
And somebody else won the 25,000.
Yes, yeah,
nice. Who thanks him very much for that. Right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about a couple of the other games down there and options. Just your thoughts on for first time people, new people, roulette. You guys mess with roulette?
Go ahead, Randy. I'll let you start.
I play them all. And so roulette, I like to play with my girlfriend, or if I have some friends down that don't play poker, I'll go around the pit. And roulette's a fun game. I like to bet straight up on numbers, and a lot of people bet corners and the 9 to 1, the 18 to 1s, but I just like the straight up. And so I'll take 100 and scatter a few out. And if you get on a roll, they'll pay you back in your roulette chips. And if it's a decent win, they'll put red or green or black or purple chips on top, the real money. And I put that in my pocket and try to play on my roulette chips. If you can get on a run like that, that's fun. So, but I mean, $200, it can go pretty quick.
Yeah. Dan, do you?
I don't play roulette. If I play something else, I like to play craps. And I think craps is a great game. It's fun to play. I think a lot of people are very intimidated when they look at a craps table, with all the numbers out there. There's actually only just a handful of what I consider good bets at a craps table. And if you just focus on those and ignore everything else, it's a fun game to play.
Yeah, it's the loudest table in the casino too.
It is. I mean, it's probably sometimes at the blackjack table, but at the craps table, if one guy wins, usually everybody's winning, and everybody, just kind of gets behind each other and cheers for each other.
And then blackjack, you guys jump over to blackjack tables much or not?
Occasionally, not very often. Randy probably plays more blackjack than I do.
Other than my drive-bys, like I said, if I have friends down, they usually come to play blackjack. I'll log a session, as I call it. I'll buy in and try to grind out a win. And I mean, blackjack's, it's fun. And now anymore, they've got the bonus circles anyway to get more money. So like if you hit or straight flushes, I guess they kind of moved 3-card poker into blackjack. And then they have a circle you can spin the wheel if it happens to hit something. So there's more ways to lose your money. If you just keep it at that middle circle, I always say the more circles you play, the more you're going to lose. But you have your shot to win the big one on the outside circles. So, but yeah, I like blackjack.
Well, and both of you got an early start in the horse racing, gambling part of it. Any tips for the Oaklawn people? I mean, you can buy a daily, the program and get the 2 or 3 tip sheets, the bull sheet, and all those. Is there more rhyme or reason in horse race betting than there is in going to the casinos?
Well, if this was like 15 years ago, I would have said yes. I think it's gotten tougher and tougher to win money at the horses. I think they do a great job of putting very equal, talented horses in races, whether it's a $5,000 claiming race or the Kentucky Derby. And I think it's harder, at least for me, it's a lot harder to find winners in races than what it was 15 years ago.
Randy?
My horse racing is a little different because I would go maybe 2 to 3 times a year to Oaklawn. So it was, if I my parents would stay down there a month at a time. And so if I did that, if I was there all the time, I would try to do a little research, read through my book. But when I go down, it's trifectas with about 2 or 3 long shots in. I'm trying to catch lightning in a bottle. So I have fun at the horse track, and you can do it.
Randy likes to bet on the number 4 horse.
Is that right?
Doesn't matter. It could have 3 legs, and Randy would be betting on the 4 horse.
That's right. That guy's got
best advice for Oaklawn is just go get another Reuben and sit this race out, right?
Get a 10-cent Reuben. Do they even have those anymore? They're probably $1 now.
Yeah, inflation.
Yeah.
I want to touch on, of course, Missouri is voted in online gambling, sports books. It's been delayed, as you would expect. I think there was a nice little filibuster that pushed it back, and I don't even think we're going to have it for football season unless it's really late in the year. Don't they have to have it by what, November, December, maybe?
The last I heard, they were going to try to pass it this summer, and then someone stepped in and decided it wasn't. They were going to try to push it through on an emergency bill, I believe, or something. So now it's pushed back to, I think, late October or November. So, which kind of sucks.
What kind of impact do you think that will have on the downstreams and Indigo Skies and Buffalo Runs? And of course, you can go over the one in Pittsburgh, Kansas. I'm drawing a blank.
Kansas Crossing.
Kansas Crossing, yeah, has a sports book, so you can go there now and do it. But and I forget, Riverbend's just down the road from Indigo Sky too. Will the online gambling hurt those the actual brick and mortar venues, you think, or not?
I don't think so. I bet I would say Downstream and Indigo will try some sort. I mean, Downstream's right. Is it their parking lot? Let's see. The parking lot's in Missouri, the casino's Oklahoma, the backside's Kansas. So we were discussing. I mean, they own the land there. Maybe they would have add an extension for their sport book. I mean, if it starts cutting into them, they'll do that, I'm sure. Yeah. So I don't think it'll hurt them that bad.
I always thought, why didn't they put just a standalone sports bar in the very back of their parking lot where the trucks are? Because that would be in Kansas, and they
right.
Unless they feel like it would siphon off from their, or maybe there's some kind of a tribal rule that they can't cross.
Well, I mean, here's part. I mean, I think part of the problem. Well, when they first opened, Downstream had a horse race room. It's right over there where the burger place is now. The problem they have, and I think some degree sports book will be the same. The percentage they make off of putting 40 slot machines in a room is a lot better than having horses or maybe even sports book. They just don't make that big of a chunk of money off of it. Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate your time. This is very informative. I know that Dan, you probably made Randy the gambler he is today with keeping him in your office, and
absolutely,
Randy, you made Dan the disciplinarian he is with his teams now. And that
you're welcome.
Had fun, and let's do it again. Let's try to make this an annual gambling update with the guys. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks, Scott.
Hey, Indigo this Friday and Saturday. If you guys, I'll be down there. So
okay.
We were down there on my birthday last weekend, same time, and it didn't do me any good. So I don't think I'll see you this weekend.
Not this time. All right.
Guys,
thanks, Scott. All right.
You bet. We'll see you. Big thanks to Dan Evans and Randy Murfin for jumping in there and telling us about their gambling expertise and sharing that with us. As a lot of people here, like we said, go down to Downstream and Indigo Sky and all the casinos just about an hour and a half away from us. And of course, we mentioned in the open that we wanted to welcome in our new sponsor and special guest and a longtime friend of mine, Miles Thompson of Thompson Sales. Miles, how you doing?
I'm good, Scott. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. You just missed a tutorial on how to make more money at the casinos down there, but you guys don't need that because you guys are sports experts on the betting side, aren't you?
Yeah. I know how to bet. I don't know how to win. That's the difference.
It's fun.
It's easy to bet.
yeah, Dan and Randy were talking
I've got,
about,
yeah,
as athletes, the competitive side of you. I mean, you played college basketball at Drury, and it's just a natural extension of the competition, isn't it? The sports betting and gambling.
yeah, you always love to do kind of get involved in that. Kind of keeps you interested in a game you might not even care about. If it's not a Chiefs game or a Cardinal game or something like that, and keeps you watching that. Same, kind of the same way with fantasy football or fantasy sports. Just to keep your eyes on the game and give you something to do.
Absolutely. Well, and like I said, we welcome you guys to the sponsorship of the podcast. And
Yeah, yeah.
personally for me, it's I've been buying cars from Thompson since the mid '80s, and actually early '80s when I came up to Missouri State, then SMS, and got to meet your father George and Lynn Thompson, and I
Yeah,
think Uncle Milt was there at the time back when you guys were downtown on St. Louis Street, and I bought
yeah.
my yeah.
Uncle Milt was there in mid '80s, late '80s, and George Jr. would have been there too. That'd have been my grandfather, and George and Milt are brothers, and then Lynn and my dad were brothers. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the Thompson boys right there.
And they were always dealing, the Thompson boys. That's why you still say it today. But the thing that brought me back for years is the way your late father and Lynn and the whole family just treats a customer like their family. And I know that you and Tyler and Alex and Troy and Drew and all the crew out there have tried to carry on that tradition. And that's kind of your motto, isn't it? Is your customers are more than just customers.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we like we treat the customers like they want to be treated. I mean, it's not you don't have to overthink the car business. It's just a customer friendly business, and we try to make all of our employees feel at home working there. We have a lot of long time employees, and they enjoy taking care of the customers, and that's why we've been around for this is going on 106 years, and all we have is our reputation, Scott, and that you've been around doing this a long time. That's why you're still one of the best around, and Thompson Sales is we're just happy to be with you guys too on this podcast.
So go through the lineup of cars now. Still Buick, GMC. The
Yeah.
old Pontiacs are gone now, right?
Oh, Pontiac's left us in I think right around 2010, somewhere around then.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I can't believe it's been that long. So yeah, it's we've got Buick, GMC, and Cadillac, and then we had Pontiac, we had Saab, but we lost some of those over the years. But the Buick and GMC sales are fantastic, and so is Cadillac. So we can't
Absolutely.
complain. We're doing a great job.
And of course, new and used inventory, trucks and cars. You can find it all at
Yeah.
Thompson Sales. And service after the sale. That's kind of one of the things you guys pride yourselves on, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the key to a good car business and people coming back. And we want the repeat business, and we want the our customers taken care of after they buy a car. So we put a lot of emphasis on making our service department class act, top notch, and yeah, I think we do a great job. We have a great team back there, and I couldn't be happier with the effort they put in to make everybody happy.
COVID was rough on all the car industry, and trying to get cars, and your guys did the best they could. Where is the status of the car world now, 5 years later, roughly?
Well, it's funny. COVID, when that hit, if I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me, if I had any cars coming in, I'd have a lot of nickels. But it, it was funny that back then every car that came in was already pre-sold, so we were still selling 150 cars a month, but we had 4 or 5 on the lot because they'd get off the trucks and they'd be sold. So now it's kind of going back to normal before COVID, just like it was before, where you have the inventory, you stock the inventory, you have to be able to forecast and order what you think you're going to sell based on what GM wants to give you, because they'll give you all the cars you want right now, but you don't want to overstock yourself either.
Is the tariff thing a
be,
scary situation for you guys, or is that other dealerships, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, that nobody really knows yet what the tariffs are going to do, or if they're going to do them, or on what cars, or because it's, a lot of the vehicles that we have are manufactured in the United States, but a lot of the parts come from overseas, from all countries throughout the world. And that's the way most automotive manufacturers are. The parts come from different places. So we don't really know yet what the tariffs are going to bring to, any of the prices, but we have not seen that. We haven't seen any price increases at all on new cars or pre-owned. So as of right now, I think it's all kind of up in the air.
Yeah. What's the hot new car in 2025 on the Thompson sales lot?
Oh, the hot new car right now, in the Buick models, it's the Buick Envista. It's a fantastic little car, right around 30 grand, 25 to 30 grand. That's been the hottest car we've had in a long time. And then, the Sierra truck, we're one of the top dealers, the Sierra truck in the state of Missouri. And, we do a great job with those. The new Yukon, GMC Yukon, has a all new 2025 GMC Terrain came out too. It's new body style, new interior. So that's kind of hot. But a lot of the Buicks and GMCs, everything we have right now is pretty fresh. It's all brand new within the last 2 years. So we have a good lineup. Everything's, got a price point for everybody. So it's great.
Good used car inventory right now? Got a good used car inventory right now?
Yep. We like to, we'll stock everything from, we stock everything from every make and model. Price ranges anywhere from, we try to keep as much as we can. We usually have around 150 pre-owned in stock at all times. So if you ever look, we're not just the Buick GMC Cadillac store. We sell a lot of pre-owned there too.
ThompsonSales.com, right? The place to go check out the inventory or drive on out to the lot.
That's right. Tom's 24/7, buddy. ThompsonSales.com. Yeah.
Very good. Well, Miles, we appreciate your sponsorship. We'll have fun with this during the football season in particular. We'll get some fantasy football tips from time to time from you and your staff of professional fantasy players, right?
Well, we talk a big game. I'll tell you that. We'll throw some names out there and we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it, and appreciate you having me on.
You bet. Thanks, Miles. We'll talk to you later. Miles Thompson at Thompson Sales, again, new sponsor to the show. I'll thank them as well as our old sponsors, our longtime sponsors, Fast Break Sports, 3109 South Campbell. Of course, you're home for all things sports cards and collectibles. You want those Jack Caglione rookie cards for the Kansas City Royals, star in waiting now at the AA level. Got to see him play about a weekend ago here in Springfield, and he hits the ball very hard. He will be in Kansas City in short order, I believe. And so go pick up those cards and more at Fast Break Sports, and then the Pitch Pizza and Pub. Great little restaurant there in the Southern Hills Shopping Center, right in the middle of the shopping center, off of East Sunshine. Pizza, calzones, appetizers. They got really good smoked wings, and of course lunch and dinner. And they've got a great meeting room back there as well. So if you've got a networking group, or you need a party for a birthday, or just any kind of anniversary get together, what have you, go to the Pitch Pizza and Pub and tell Brian and the folks that they'll get you set up. So again, big thanks to our guests today. That was a lot of fun talking little non-stick and ball sports there. Appreciate Dan and Randy coming on, and then Miles joining us at the end. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. We'll see you next week.